But if I was betting money on this fight, I'll be putting my money on
Hi, this is Joe Cortez. You're watching ShowBizz, the adult.
Oh, this is Bernard Hopkins, ShowBizz, the adult. I'm out.
Oops, up off net. Up off net. What's up, my people? This is ShowBizz, the adult. All right, man, look, we're in for a war that I think is underappreciated here. I'm going to break down the fight between Danny Swift Garcia and Errol the Truth Spence. Whoops! All right, man, look. Let's get to the video. First, I want to say this. You know, I am giving away these 3 cards here, okay? It's Ray Boom Boom Mancini, Oliver McCall, and Emmanuel Stewart, okay? And I asked you guys in my last video to say me in the comments if you want the cards. Well, what I decided to do is instead of, since I haven't shipped it out to who I didn't really choose a winner yet, I'm going to add more cards to that bundle. So let's open up a pack of cards here. Let's open up a pack of cards. If you don't know, this series of cards that I'm opening is from, what, 1991 to 92, I believe. So there's authentic cards here. There's signatures here and stuff like that. All of the great guys back in the 90s. And there's some throwback cards in here as well. So let's see what we have here. I'm going to add whatever good cards here to that bundle. And then I'll choose a winner. Kobe. Let's see. Not a good one. Oh my God. A throwback card that I'm going to add. Smoking Joe Frazier. I'm going to add this card to that bundle. What else we have? James Buster Douglas. I'll be adding this card to the bundle. My God. The Battle of the Ages. The card. Is this signed? Evander Holyfield versus Big George Foreman. I'm giving this away too. Wow. That was dope. What else we got? The late and great Burt Sugar. I want to keep this, actually. I really want to keep this. But I gotta be fair. Let's give this away. God, I really want to keep that one. My God! Julian the Hawk Jackson. This pack is ridiculous. What else we have? Dude. Mildred Taylor. Got to give that away. These cards, this pack was ridiculous. And look at this. Shambae Mitchell. I don't know if you guys remember him. This guy can fight. Floyd Mayweather actually beat him. Lightweight. I'm giving this away. That was a great bundle of cards right there. So you're going to win all of them with Emmanuel Stewart, with the others. That is a great bundle. I'll be giving that away. So all you have to do is be a subscriber. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel. Hit the subscribe button. Also, hit the like button. Type me in the comments. Kool-Aid! A whole bunch of sugar. Okay, let's get to the video. When it comes to November 21st, Danny Swift Garcia versus Errol the Truth Spence. For me, that's a mouth-watering fight. But I have to mention this. Many fans are always talking about how back in the day, the best used to fight the best. Remember Sugar Ray Leonard versus Hearns and Sugar Ray Leonard versus Duran 1 and 2 and Sugar Ray Leonard versus Wilfred Benitez and Hearns versus Pepino Cuevas and Hearns versus Duran. The funny thing is we're living that right now and we don't realize it. We've been losing so long, we don't know when we're winning. Think about the welterweight division alone. Errol the Truth Spence is about to fight Danny Swift Garcia. Danny Swift Garcia fought Keith One Time Thurman and Showtime Sean Porter. Showtime Sean Porter, he fought Kell Brook, who hasn't he fought? Keith One-Time Thurman, who hasn't he fought? Danny Swift Garcia, Errol the True Spence, Adrian Broner. He fought Mikey Garcia. Adrian Broner fought Manny Pacquiao. Adrian Broner fought Sean Porter. Manny Pacquiao fought Adrian Broner, and Manny Pacquiao fought Keith One-Time Thurman. Keith One-Time Thurman, he fought Showtime Sean Porter and Danny Swift Garcia. We do not realize that right now, when we say the best should be fighting the best and everybody should be fighting each other, they're doing precisely that. We've been losing so long, we don't know when we're winning. Let's hit the bell on that one. 100. And when it comes to this fight, Errol the True Spence versus Danny Swift Garcia, it's actually business as usual. I'm not sure if you remember, but pre-accident last October, we know Errol the True Spence got into the car accident in his Ferrari. The plan was for Errol the True Spence to take on Danny Swift Garcia and then take on Manny Pacquiao. But the accident delayed it, and then following that, the coronavirus delayed it even more. Now, we're back to business as usual. Come November 21st, Errol the True Spence will be taking on Danny Swift Garcia, and I don't see why we would distract from the plan if Errol Spence gets past Danny Garcia for Errol Spence to take on Manny Pacquiao to have a unification bout of the WBA, WBC, and the IBF titles. But when thinking about this matchup, Errol the True Spence versus Danny Swift Garcia, as of right now, I don't have a strong bit of confidence on who I'm choosing to win this fight. When you think of all the welterweights out there, set aside Manny Pacquiao. I mean, he's a legend at this point, and he's 40-something years old, and he has one heck of a career. But when you think of everyone else who are around the same age, Danny Garcia may just have the best resume next to Showtime Sean Porter. He definitely has a better resume than Errol the True Spence. Danny Swift Garcia has already fought the likes of Eric Morales twice, Amir Khan, Lamont Peterson, which Errol the True Spence fought Lamont Peterson as well, Matisse, Super Zab Judah, Keith One-Time Thurman, Showtime Sean Porter, and now Errol the True Spence. I mean, Danny Garcia has one heck of a resume. And when thinking about this matchup, I had to look at the like opponents between Errol the True Spence and Danny Swift Garcia first before I do anything. Yeah, they both share Lamont Peterson, but Danny Swift Garcia fought a more prime Lamont Peterson, and plus, I think Lamont Peterson, he probably deserved the nod. But the fight I really want to look at is both of their matchups against Showtime Sean Porter. Both guys took it to Showtime Sean Porter. I mean, it was really a war. When everybody talk about Errol the True Spence versus Showtime Sean Porter, how entertaining that is, we have short memories because Danny Swift Garcia and Showtime Sean Porter was extremely entertaining as well. And that had a lot to do with Danny Swift Garcia's style. He doesn't go backwards. He takes the fight to you. All you need to do is listen to the late and great Brother Nazim when he talks about Danny Swift Garcia.
And Danny is a phone booth, draw the line in the sand fighter. Anybody stand there and fight with Danny, you get all that you're looking for. Danny fight like somebody knocked his drink off the bar and said they ain't paying for it. Danny fights.
Danny took the fight to Sean, and they both just sat in the middle of the ring many times trading. And what makes Danny Swift Garcia such a threat is not only his power, not only his timing, but the fact that by nature he is a counterpuncher. Look at what happens when Porter and Garcia decides to trade with each other. Porter many times is initiating the attack, and that was falling right into the hands of Garcia. Garcia was pulling Porter in and then catching him with counter hooks. And that's when Garcia is really in his bag. He likes for you to be aggressive, which Errol the True Spence is aggressive. And if you look at Errol the True Spence versus Showtime Sean Porter, and where Errol Spence was initiating his attack, he was getting caught himself by counters of Sean Porter and his hooks. So I can't help but to expect Danny Swift Garcia to counter Errol the True Spence and catch him with devastating hooks. And I think if he catches Errol the True Spence with enough of those hooks, he can definitely hurt Spence. But the big plus about Errol the True Spence is his strength, the way he makes everyone go backwards. Is he going to be able to do that against Danny Swift Garcia? If once again you look at Danny Swift Garcia versus Showtime Shawn Porter couldn't really push Danny Swift Garcia backwards. That's the thing. People do not give Danny Swift Garcia enough credit on his full body strength. How Shawn Porter comes rushing in and Danny Swift Garcia is able to plant his feet right there and not go anywhere and slug with Showtime Shawn Porter. I think the same thing happens with Errol the Truth Spence. If you look at Errol the Truth Spence versus Showtime Shawn Porter was actually able to move Errol Spence around easier than he was able to move Danny Swift Garcia around. But that don't just go towards the overall body strength of Danny Swift Garcia, as if to say that Garcia is stronger than Errol Spence. But he may fight stronger than Errol Spence. Errol Spence has great feet that he likes to use, and he has a great jab that he loves to implement. And in order to do that, he has to show angles, he has to give space. And that's the advantage that I give Errol the Truth Spence. His boxing ability, his technique, his ability to stay with a jab all 12 rounds, his ability to throw his punches straight down the middle. And the fact that Errol the Truth Spence isn't just strong, he isn't just a tank, he isn't just a big welterweight, but he's deceptively fast. If you look at that fight with Garcia versus Khan was throwing his punches straight down the middle. If you look at those earlier rounds, he was actually teeing off on Danny Garcia pretty good. But Danny Swift Garcia has one heck of a beard. He was absorbing those punches, and he was just getting his timing down, because we all know that timing beats speed. And eventually he was able to time Amir Khan and boop, right on the button. Now, with Errol the Truth Spence versus Danny Swift Garcia, I do call it a war. I think both of those guys are going to meet each other in the center of the ring, and I think neither one of them are going to try to go backwards much. Errol the Truth Spence is a guy who seeks and destroys. He breaks you down systematically. He hits you to the body. He hits you with great jabs and straights, and he's trying to break you down to eventually finish you the way he did KO Special K Brook. Danny Swift Garcia, on the other hand, he throws big haymakers. He has a good jab as well. He goes to the body very well. But with his game plan and how Danny Swift Garcia approaches a fight, going to the body just sets up that hook to the head. If you look at Danny Garcia, many times he's looking down while throwing his hooks to the head. Why? Because he's trying to bring your guard down and leave your head exposed. He's going to be doing that a lot against Errol the Truth Spence. And if Errol the Truth Spence decides to trade with Danny Garcia to the body, that does leave his hands low and leaves him open for those big countering hooks from Danny Garcia. But here's the thing about Errol the Truth Spence. Errol the Truth Spence has great stamina. If you look at his fight against Showtime Shawn Porter, they were fighting at a very high rate. And Shawn Porter has been known to be so active that he can just outdo his opponents with his activity. Errol the Truth Spence, he didn't tire, and he kept his jab out there, and he kept boxing with him, and he kept his power late. Look at how he drops Shawn Porter in the 11th. Those are the kind of shots that Danny Swift Garcia was hitting Shawn Porter with later in their fight, but no knockdown of Showtime Shawn Porter. When looking at this fight, what I don't want you guys to do in this community is make the huge mistake of looking at Errol the Truth Spence as an undefeated fighter and Danny Swift Garcia as somebody with 2 losses, saying that he lost the big fights while Errol the Truth Spence won his. Let's break that down just a little bit. Yes, Errol the Truth Spence, he broke down Special K Brook. And he outboxed Mikey Garcia. But many people feel that Showtime Shawn Porter deserved the nod against Errol the Truth Spence. Me personally, I think that knockdown of Showtime Shawn Porter was the difference. I had Shawn Porter up by 1 point until that knockdown. And Errol the Truth Spence, he did very well in the 12th round. But with that said, Errol the Truth Spence versus Showtime Shawn Porter was extremely close. Now let's look at the losses of Danny Swift Garcia. Danny Swift Garcia, he lost to Keith one time, Thurman, by split decision. And many people felt that Danny Swift Garcia won that fight because Keith one time Thurman got on his bicycle pretty early. Now when you think of Danny Swift Garcia versus Showtime Shawn Porter, I agree. I think Showtime Shawn Porter was victorious there. But the guy with the best seat in the house, the referee, your friend and mine, Steve Willis, look at his face when he raised the hand of Showtime Shawn Porter. So that fight was close. What I'm trying to say is all of these guys are extremely close. But what I'm saying is it's a great group of guys where everybody is pretty evenly matched. Now, who would I be putting my money on? Errol the True Spence or Danny Swift Garcia? Which is a perfect time to bring up our sponsor, BUSR.com. Please visit BUSR.com/ShowBizz to place your bets on any upcoming fights. I know I'll be placing my bet August 15th on that fight between Cormier and Stipe. But if I was betting money on this fight, I'll be putting my money on Errol the True Spence. I think Errol the True Spence's footwork, his effective jab, and his seek and destroy approach is going to give him the edge here. Danny Swift Garcia, one heck of a fighter, but he's just not as busy as Showtime Sean Porter. And it's going to allow Errol the True Spence to be effective with his jab and dictate the pace and the distance in which they fight. I believe Errol the True Spence kind of turns it up early, and if he finds himself hurt or some pain delivered by Danny Swift Garcia, he pulls out a plan B, something like Keith One-Time Thurman. But unlike Keith One-Time Thurman, I think Errol the True Spence's plan B wouldn't be just to get on a bicycle, but maybe to box a little bit more and to let that meat cook a little bit more. Though Danny Swift Garcia has a crazy chin, he's a great fighter, I think there's a possibility that Errol the True Spence can even stop Danny Swift Garcia. I think it's a close fight. Let me know how you feel in the comments below. And ShowBizz for dope. Make sure to type me in the comments, hit the like button and subscribe to get your chance to win the bundle of cards that we have. It's a great bundle. I'm out.